All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Colson. I'm a graph advocate and a member of Graph Advocates DAO, and I will be hosting today's community talk. In today's community talk, we will hear about Tenderize, which is a liquid staking platform. We will talk about GIP 0039, a graph improvement proposal aimed to improve the experience of subgraph and dApp developers. And you will hear updates from all over the ecosystem. To start off today's community talk, we are going to shine a spotlight at one of our amazing grantees. I would like to invite Lazy Panda to the stage to present Social Tree, which is the first ever Web3 social hiring platform.
Hey, am I audible?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Awesome. So let me just share my screen and talk a little bit about what we have built at Social 3. So just give me a minute. Can you folks see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. So just to talk a little bit about Social 3. So what we have built is a decentralized LinkedIn for Web3. We launched on the 1st of October. We did a beta launch prior to that. And what we basically talk about is an amalgamation of providing opportunities to people in Web3 because we understand that Web3 talent discovery is very difficult. But we want to do it in a way that allows users to get actually verified or awarded batches based on the credentials that they have. And this is where we have used the use case for Graph to create subgraphs and query the blockchain to get an understanding of what are the different areas that the users have they ever completed courses from BuildSpace? Do what kind of NFTs do they own? What kind of transactions have they done? Have they ever deployed smart contracts? All of this information we want to understand, and we want to award them batches based off of it. So I just signed in onto my profile. As you can see, this is the dashboard which talks about my applications, the jobs that I've bookmarked, the referrals that I've received. These are all on-chain referrals that I like. Any person can come in and they can vouch on what kind of things that I've worked on. Um, this is our feed. So this feed is basically a medium for people to come in and engage because we didn't just want to build like a simple job portal or something where someone can just apply and it does not make any sense. But we wanted to create a repository where people can actually talk about general like interview data that is like no one knows what kind of questions do they ask in web3 based interviews, salary information, what kind of salaries do exist in like web3, what kind of companies like the reviews, so that people can then decide what kind of companies like they want to work with. So this is on Lens protocol, and here as you can see, like some people have we have already had some people like write like a little bit about their experience. So here we have Nazi. He's a very prominent member of Developer Doubt about his front-end engineering experience and what are the things you can do. And since all of you folks over here are also working with the graph, I would really request you to come to our platform and maybe write something if you have a Lens account to just write about your experience of working with the graph. I would be really happy to feature you folks through our Twitter as well. So here we have some posts based off that. Then we have the jobs section. So if you take a look at our job section, we have over 50 jobs integrated on our platform, which are not like something that we have sort of crawled or got. These are actual partnerships with all of these companies. And I would really love to list the graph over here as well. And these are all partnership with companies where you can actually just like we have jobs integrated with Bioeconomy, Push Protocol, Shardium. So you can go ahead and you can apply for the job or you can refer someone for the job. So the application process is very simple. So as you can see for this job, I've already applied. It just shows like my status and all. I'll show for a job which I have not applied for to give you the idea of how it looks. Um, but like you can go ahead and apply for the job, and it will just take your social 3 profile. So it's a single updated social 3 profile that can be used for any sort of job that you want to apply for. So you don't need to provide like resume everywhere or something. This is your single source of truth, your social 3 profile. So you can just do a single click apply, or you can refer someone. The referrals are on chain. You can just put the username of the person on social 3, additional information, and you can put some tokens to log. This is done so that like the people who are referred are actually quality candidates, and there's no spamming in terms of referral on the candidate. And this token, like this will be actually a refer and earn talent model. So if that person gets successfully converted or hired, then the company will also give a recruiting bonus to you folks for referring and landing that person the job. And even if that does not happen, whatever amount you staked or put here will be returned back to you. So this is how our apply and refer model work. We also have an events page, which is like a normal, you can just put all the events over here. And then finally we have the profile page, and this is where I wanted to show you how we are actually using the graph and all. So this is like talks about what are the areas that I'm interested in, my all my socials, my wallet, and these are the batches earned. And this is exactly where we have used a lot of the subgraphs and all of that to find out the user's activity and actually award them batches. And this is going to be NFTs that can be gaslessly minted using Bioeconomy also. So for example, we have used build space contract in our subgraph. We have used developer DAO contract in our subgraph to find out the user's activity based off of it. And also any sort of other metrics as well, if they have completed bounties on D work, and all of this information we have queried from creating subgraphs. And also information we have also integrated POP that uses the graph in the background to actually query and understand. So all of these are batches that you can earn based off of it. Learn, Web3 DAO, and all of this. So if there is some educational program that Graph has that they award NFTs of, I would be very happy to list anything over there as well. So this is the batches section. Coming back to the profile section, we understand that not everyone comes from a Web3 background, right? They might not be the developer candidate who can earn a lot of batches. That's why we also include a lot of other information. So you can do your work experience, you can do normal projects. We have a GitHub integration that talks about what kind of contributions you have made. It talks about mirror blogs so that we can see your content writing experience. It talks about Discord community so that you can talk about your community management experience. And as you can see, I've listed Graph protocol over here because I really like what the Graph does. So this is more or less a little bit about Social 3. I hope you folks had a good time understanding more about it. And if you have any questions or any suggestions for our product, then feel free to reach out to me. I am at Sneha_BB on Twitter. So this is my profile. So feel free to reach out to me for any. I welcome all kinds of suggestions, and I really would love to have you use our product in some sort of way, or to integrate the graph with also any sort of way. And I really appreciate you folks giving us this grant. This really helped us build this product. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that explanation. It looks really nice, and I see a lot of amazing comments in the chat as well. So that's really good. I'm wondering if anybody has any questions about Social Tree.
I was just going to comment if you could maybe talk to Matt. I think his name is Matt Blockwise on Discord, about maybe getting the jobs listed on there for the graph, because he's in charge of all of that.
I did have one question, if I may. Is there any place on Social 3 to report freelance type of work? So more project-based, I did XYZ for person A, and they can confirm it, or something to that nature?
I'm sorry. Do you mind repeating the question? My network is not good. So if you can put it on the chat, then I would be happy to answer over there as well.
Yeah, no problem. I'll type it right now.
All right, I think Lazy Panda is answering the questions in the chat, so we will continue on with our next segment. So the next segment, we have a couple of updates on all the cool stuff that happened or is going to happen in the Graph ecosystem. Missouri's flagship conference, Missouri Mainnet, was held in New York last month. Eva Balin from the Graph Foundation, together with Vincent and Ken from Missouri, gave a really nice talk about leveraging on-chain data using the Graph. So I would definitely recommend to check that out. It's a really nice one. The Graph Foundation leads the blog about the transition to the decentralized Graph network. If we have time left at the end of the call, we can talk about this a little bit more. And another one, the House of Web3 will have its grand opening on October 27th in San Francisco. If you're able to volunteer at this event, please contact Noel from Edge and Node. We're looking for volunteers. It's really awesome to have community members from the Graph there. So the next topic of the call will be GIP 0039, a graph improvement proposal aimed to improve the experience of subgraph and dApp developers. And I would like to invite Derek from Data Nexus to hop on the call and tell us more about the GIP.
Thanks, Colson. You're going to have to forgive some of my background noise. But yeah, so basically the problem that we're aiming to solve with this GIP is to make it easier for subgraph developers to deploy their subgraphs and ensure that they have a proper amount of signal. There's been a pain point that was communicated by different subgraph developers, not necessarily knowing how much signal they should add. Sorry, give me 1 sec. I just went up some stairs, which was a terrible timing for that. But yeah, so the long and short of it is they need to know how much signal they should be adding to their subgraph. But then also there's complexities with the bonding curve, which, if you're unfamiliar with that, it's basically this parabolic curve that when you signal on a subgraph, the initial shares that you signal, or the GRT that you spend signaling, gets more expensive the more people that signal to it. So the first 10 shares is quite a bit cheaper than the next 10 shares and the next 10 shares, etc. So this places kind of a risk element to developers. And then, so what this GIP is aiming to solve is basically it flattens out that curve, specifically for subgraphs that are deployed to the Arbitrum network. And that way people don't have the risk element that they're assuming when they first deploy their subgraph, and they can make sure that there is that initial signal. Did that make sense, or did the fact that I just climbed a bunch of stairs make that sound super confusing?
No, it was absolutely fine. Thank you so much for that detailed explanation. Thank you so much. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that, Derek. Up next, we will have a couple of updates from the DAOs in our ecosystem. So the Graph Advocates DAO had their 6-month update a couple of weeks ago, and it's a really good showcase of all the stuff that we've been working on as Advocates DAO on the past 6 months. So I would heavily recommend checking that out. Then Subgraph DAO is looking for the best developers in the ecosystem. So Subgraph developers, all developers, everyone technical. So if you'd like to get involved more with Subgraph DAO, you can send me a message on Discord and we'll figure out what we can do together. And next up, IndexerDAO launched, and I would like to invite Dylan on the stage to talk about their launch.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, like Colson said, I just want to take this opportunity to announce kind of the soft launch or soft announcement of IndexerDAO. I'm sure some of you have heard of IndexerDAO, some of you may have not. We've kind of got started in the dark a little bit and just sort of had these meetings that were public but not really announced too well. So we're kind of just getting ourselves known a little bit right now and trying to get everyone up to date on what our vision is, what our mission is, and what they can expect from IndexerDAO. So IndexerDAO really has, I would say, 2 main pillars of our mission, which is educational incubation, which just means that If someone wants to become an indexer and needs help with setting up their stack or has issues or something, they can always turn to the IndexerDAO for help with their code or for second eyes on their hardware. This is a sort of a backbone resource for indexers that want to get started. So, built on top of this, we plan to have this sort of issuance of, or this idea of indexer certification, where we can say, since we incubated this indexer, we can support them. We can, by either delegation or vouching for them within the ecosystem, to say that this indexer knows what they're doing and this is a trusted indexer within the community. So that's sort of the first pillar of what we're trying to build. I would say the second pillar is more on the research and development side. So the IndexerDAO does run their own hardware and is currently participating in the MIPS program to get our hardware set up. But on the research and development side, what we plan to do is really support the innovation that's happening within the Graph protocol itself. So mainly what we see, or what we kind of identified as a possible opportunity for involvement, is we see the core devs developing these features like maybe the fire hose or auto agora, things like that, and they need some sort of feedback. They need implementation, and then they need feedback from the community, and whether or not they receive it could be hit or miss. But these types of innovations, or these type of innovators, can always should always be able to turn to the IndexerDAO and say, hey, can you implement this? Can you tell us what's wrong with it? Can we get feedback from you? And the IndexerDAO should always be able to support them with that type of work. So currently, we're another kind of opportunity that we identified is setting up a proper Q&A community, whether that be on Stack Overflow, which I'm sure many developers are familiar with Stack Overflow. So we want to have a dedicated Q&A community where people can ask questions, and those questions aren't lost in say the Discord chat or something that just keeps scrolling and you lose some conversation. So we want to have a proper community set up, whether it be Stack Overflow or some decentralized version of it. We also plan to host ongoing learning workshops. They're just kind of announced as they come up. That kind of outlines our goals and what we're going to be focusing on and what to expect in the future from us. The last thing I have to mention is that this effort is not officially part of the foundation, just to avoid any confusion. I don't want to mislead people to think that this was a foundation effort. If you do have questions about the IndexerDAO, you can reach out to the IndexerDAO itself. I believe our Discord will be posted in the chat, and we'll have more information to come in the future as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dylan, and hopefully we'll have some cool updates in the upcoming community talks as well. It's a very nice initiative. I've been at some of the meetings. It's a really good vibe, so definitely recommend everyone joining that one. All right, we're going to have a couple more updates, and then we will have one more presentation. So the Community Grants Program of Graph Advocates DAO had their first grant last month. It was from Liam, or GRT Data Hub, and the aim of the grant was to have a Telegram bot to educate newcomers and enhance community onboarding. And it's a really nice one. It's in most of the unofficial groups. You will see that bot there. So good job, Liam. It was really nice to finally have this grant process on the way. Then we have a couple of new GRT IQ episodes. The first one, number 83, was with Anne Connolly and Chief, this is a very difficult name, Nyamweya. And they are the authors of a graph novel called Trust. It's a story how the power of blockchain technology can save community and transform the future. It's free to read if you look for it online, and it's a really cool book to read. So it's a really, really interesting way to educate people about Web3 and about blockchain. So definitely recommend that one. Then we have GRT IQ number 84 with David Mihal, a blockchain engineer who's worked on several well-known projects in the crypto space. It's a really nice listen. And there is another one, 85, with Tashi, the co-founder and CEO of Playgrounds Analytics, and they have a data solutions platform built upon the graph. So they are all really, really nice GRT IQs. So if you have some time to listen to them, I'd highly recommend doing so. We have a couple contribution highlights coming up from graph advocates that did really cool stuff. And I would like to first invite Alex onto the stage to talk about the Code Along series that he's doing.
Hey everyone, give me a second to share my screen. Yeah, hi, if you don't know me, I'm Alex of Code Along with Alex. I also go by Paka in the ecosystem, but Code Along with Alex is this learning community that's kind of formed since August. And initially, we were focusing predominantly on kind of indexer, the ABCs of the things you might need as an indexer. And so we're slowly kind of expanding our focus and providing opportunities for community members to, I guess, put something on their schedule to show up and learn together. And so this weekend, we're starting our first session on Julia because I'm really excited to get my hands dirty with Auto Agora and Allocation Opt, but I want to get some experience with Julia first. And so I figured there's probably other community members with similar feelings about that. And then besides Julia, we also cover topics like Rust, Docker, and Kubernetes because I want to be ready for Launchpad. And so you can see that a lot of this content it's not directly graph centric, but it's kind of like the building blocks of perhaps contributing and succeeding as a participant in the ecosystem on the more technical side. And so I really encourage you to come and join. I'm definitely in no ways an expert in all these technologies. I'm learning, but I think it's a fun vibe, and I encourage you to come hang out with us and also suggest content because we're always open to new suggestions for what the community would like to learn about together. So thanks for the time, and I'll share a link to my schedule in the chat. But
Alex, how can people join these sessions?
Oh yeah, thanks, Colton. So these are every Saturday in the Graph Advocates DAO Discord on the public voice chat, and all the information is on the website link that I'll share. But it's every Saturday, I think 1700 UTC, but I could be wrong. I forget the conversion off the top of my head. But yeah, it's in the Discord events for the Graph Advocates server. So I update that pretty frequently, and then the site that I'll share has a longer time horizon for what you can expect in terms of content.
Amazing. Thank you, Alex.
And I just shared the link in the video stage chat as well.
All right. Next up, I would like to invite Ahmed Mardani to the stage. He had a really cool event a couple of weeks ago called Graph Social, and I would love for Ahmed to talk about it.
Hi everyone, thank you, Carlson. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So I started a Graph Social as an international Web3 meetup where people can learn more about the graph and with a main focus on growing the graph ecosystem. So more than 200 people applied for our first meetup in Dubai, and our venue's capacity was so limited, so we had to accept only 122 people. So around 110, 115 people attended the event, and most of them were top tier Web3 protocols, people who wanted to learn more about the graph, and VCs, developers, etc. So with that event, we achieved a lot of things where people who wanted to use the graph, learn more about the graph, and people who wanted to run nodes, to run indexer for the graph.
I think your mic cut off.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, so that was our first Web3 meetup in Dubai, and we are also planning to start future ones in multiple other countries. So if you want, you can follow us on Twitter. The handle is Graph Social One, and you can learn more about what happened, videos, pictures, etc.
Yeah, awesome. The link is in the chat, and definitely recommend watching the videos. It was such a blast watching them. So thank you so much, Ahmed, for coming
Thank
on
you.
and explaining this.
I'll send any resources also to the chat where people can take a look.
Amazing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, next up, I would like to invite the members of the Tenderize team on stage. Tenderize is a liquid staking platform, and the members of the team will tell you more about it.
Hey everyone, glad to be here. I want to say thank you to Ahmad for throwing an awesome Graph Social event. Glad that we got to sponsor it. It was awesome. So yeah, I'm Nico from the Tenderize team. We are building liquid staking for the Graph and other Web3 infrastructure protocols. Why did we choose infrastructure protocols? Because we think that if you build an application, a decentralized application, you would use many of these protocols together, but you only settle a transaction on one settlement layer like Ethereum or Polygon or whatever at a time. But you would use the Graph for indexing, maybe something like Livepeer for video streaming, something like Audius maybe for music, whatever. So all these protocols kind of work together really nicely to build a symbiotic Web3 sort of competitor to cloud providers. And we love to build liquid staking for the Graph and other networks so that indexers and delegators can benefit from several use cases, such as being able to collateralize their stake or delta neutral staking, maybe even leverage staking if you have a taste for living on the edge a little bit. By the way, sorry if my voice is a little bit on the bad side. I just came home from Bogota from DEF CON, which was awesome. But the entire team is a little bit sick at the moment. So, but yeah, glad to be here and tell you guys more about Tenderize or answer any questions that you might have. Should I share my screen and give a quick demo or?
Yeah, that's fine. Would be good.
All right, cool. Let's see. Where is? Oh, I can't share tabs. Okay, I'll just share the entire screen then. Never mind. Just a second. Let's do it in 720p because I'm not sure of my connection. Can anyone see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So this is the Tenderize application, but I'll quickly switch back to our homepage. So like I said, we provide liquid staking for Web3 middleware and infrastructure protocols, as opposite to some of the other big names you might know, like Lido or Stakewise. They do mostly L1s. I know we have Polygon in here as well. It's a little bit of the strange one in the row. But yeah, these are the protocols we currently support. And it's quite simple. Liquid staking, how it works is I have 1,000 GRT here. And instead of going through the Graph's website, picking an indexer and keeping track of everything and like maybe even reallocating my funds to another indexer in case my current indexer isn't performing well, you can go to Tenderize, deposit your GRT. So I have 1,000 GRT here. You can deposit it, and in return, you will get an equal amount of TGRT tokens. Well, equal amount minus the delegation tax. I'm currently writing a proposal, a GIP proposal, to get rid of the delegation tax for first-time delegators. So maybe there's a workaround around that in the future, but we'll see. But anyway, I can stake my GRT. And like it says here in the Graph, there's a 0.5% delegation fee. So I will get back 995 TGRT tokens that I can then swap back for the original GRT. And we're also working on bringing you several DeFi integrations so that you can enjoy the use cases that I mentioned, like collateralization or delta neutral staking, which would be basically hedging your staked position. Very useful for node operators that kind of want a fixed rate of return without having to worry about price fluctuations. So I already had a balance of TGRT, so it won't show 995 after this completes, but I will get 995 TGRT tokens in return. We also have a, like I said, it shows your balance here, how much rewards you've earned. You can swap back and forth between one TGRT and GRT. Pool currently seems to be a little bit unbalanced, so you would actually get more TGRT at the moment if you would use the liquidity pool than just straight up depositing. We're working with several, or like talking to several partners that could help us increase market depth and market efficiency of these AMM pools. But you can also provide liquidity yourself, and that will give you a small percentage of the staking rewards on top, as well as swap fees, and when you farm these liquidity tokens. So that's a basic quick intro to Tenderize. We currently, the way that it works, if you deposit in Tenderize, those funds get delegated towards an indexer on the Graph network. Currently, we have selected one indexer during Genesis when we deployed the contracts. And after that, we basically had two options towards expanding that. Either we would go with the way that protocols like Lido work. You have a pool of indexers, and any delegation that comes in gets split amongst those indexers, and that can be like 10 or 20 indexers. Point being that it will always be a small subset of all the indexers on the network. We think that anyone should be able to benefit from liquid staking, so we're actually already building a next version of the Tenderize protocol, which I'm really excited about, because any indexer on the Graph network, for example, will have its own specific TGRT token. So even as an indexer, you can come through Tenderize, select your own node or indexer as you would in the Graph's dashboard, deposit your GRT and get a TGRT back that's like specific to your indexer, which you can then use in DeFi. What's so great about this is that if you wouldn't have that, if you would have a pool of indexers, then you as an indexer yourself would be very reluctant, I imagine, to put your money in, because work allocation in protocols like the Graph or LivePeer is often stake weighted. So the more stake you have, the more work potential, or potentially more work you can get. So that's a resource you likely don't want to share with other indexers, but you still would like to maybe collateralize some of your stake to, for example, I don't know, buy more hardware, or hire someone that could do DevOps or whatever. Basically scale up your operation and get access to all of your cash flows, because currently part of your cash flows would still be illiquid, and a portion of that, the query fees, would be liquid. With Tenderize, we hope to kind of increase capital efficiency in the future for all indexers and their delegators. But like I said, we're currently still tied to this one indexer, but I'm really looking forward to the next version to bring utility to the whole Graph ecosystem. So that's a basic quick intro. Happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
Yeah, there are a couple of questions in the chat. If you would want to answer some of them, that would be great.
Oh yeah, sure. Let's go through them. So one on the APY. Yeah, that's a question we've had a lot. So we've recently put out a statement on the APY that there was a small bug in the calculation initially, which was magnified by, it was magnified in the case of the Graph because we used the 30-day data set to calculate the APY, but the allocation for current indexer was only closing like once a month, and we didn't correctly weigh that period, which resulted in a very high APY. So we've since then adjusted that to correctly weigh those periods and move to a 90-day data set, which smooths things out a little bit. So the APY has come down to, I don't know, currently 27.5%. It's still higher than what our indexer shows on the dashboards, but there's several reasons for this. So one is that we use a different methodology. the APR or APY you see on something like GraphScan is from the perspective of an indexer. But if an indexer has a negative commission rate, meaning it shares back fees and rewards with delegators, as a delegator, you can actually have a higher APY than the indexer itself, which was the case very early on for this indexer. Maybe on GraphScan it is, but on the Graphs website it's not. But still, the fact that you have to put in an amount makes it from a perspective of a specific person and not from the perspective of, I would say, in general, that delegator. But regardless, the node had quite high negative commission rates early on, which means we would have gotten more rewards and fees back than the indexer would like normally do, but it since increased its commission rates. I do know it's still a little bit higher, but yeah, like I said, we use the data from the Tenderize protocol's perspective and not from the indexer or a delegator's perspective. So we, for example, don't know when an allocation opens or closes, and we don't know like what an allocation period would look like. We just know X amount rewards came in over Y amount of time, and that's how we calculate the APY. But yeah, there were like fairly high negative indexer reward cuts initially. It's not anymore, so I do think the APY will normalize in the next few months. The other question is will we implement unstaking through the UI? Yeah, definitely. That's something we'll start working on that this week because it's much requested. And it's indeed also quite important to have that in the application. It's merely a thing we need to implement in the UI. It's already in the contract. So technically you could go to Etherscan, do it there, but that's obviously not a very nice workflow. So yeah, definitely working to bring unstaking through the UI as soon as possible, so that you can unstake, wait for, in the worst case, 56 days, in the best case, 28 days like in the graph, because the graph doesn't allow, the Tenderize protocol acts as a single delegator, and the graph protocol doesn't allow for simultaneous or parallel unstaking or undelegations, which we're also either creating a proposal for or supporting the existing proposal. So definitely also looking to improve on that. What about borrowing GRT from a GRT liquidity pool position, aka Uniswap, at a 1% fee? Was wondering if there any thinking at Tenderize about including GRT into DeFi schemes while including it in the Graph ecosystem. That's a really good question. So yes, liquid staking only has as much utility as you actually have utility integrations. So we are looking into creating those DeFi integrations, although we're currently focused mostly on building Tenderize V2, which, like I mentioned, will be a fully neutral liquid staking protocol and be very similar to, I think, the existing GIP about liquid delegations, but then build on top of the Graph protocol instead of native liquid staking inside the Graph staking itself, which we think is the biggest game changer for liquid staking, period. So that's our current focus. And after that, we'll definitely start focusing on more DeFi integrations. We think, for example, being able to collateralize your stake is probably the most important one, because let's imagine you're coming new as an indexer to the graph and you have to put up, I don't know, currently, what is it? Around 10K USD in graph tokens to bootstrap your indexer with enough funds, then also have to spin up the hardware. But what if you could put up the stake, collateralize that, and then use that to buy hardware, or hire a cloud service, or like rent a cloud service, preferably buy your own hardware, of course. It would already like bring the cost of entry down by quite a bit if you would be able to do that. And that's some of the use cases we're looking at for the next version. So to answer that, TLDR, first building Tenderize v2 mostly, and then coming with the DeFi integrations.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that explanation. I was looking at it today and I didn't fully understand it, but now it's very clear. So nice job. It's good. Very good.
Awesome, thank you. And we're also, by the way, a Wave 2 grantee. So really excited to be part of the Graph ecosystem because we love it. We use it ourselves. We have our own subgraphs. And we think it's a cornerstone of the Web3 ecosystem. I'm really looking forward to see more developments in the ecosystem.
Derek has another question for you.
Are indexers able to liquid stake their self-stake, or is it currently just for delegators? Well, currently we only have one indexer. So if you as an indexer yourself would delegate your funds through Tenderize, it would go through that indexer. For Tenderize v2, it's mostly delegators, but you can self-delegate to your own indexer through Tenderize in the next version. Like you could also do right now, natively staking in the graph as well. I know it's not ideal, and we have been talking about ways within the team, like ways that people could register that indexer through the Tenderize protocol, and then it would also be a full native indexer experience. But that's not as trivial as doing it for the delegations first. So we first tackle the delegations and making it possible as a delegator or as a self-delegator. You would still have to put up that minimum amount of self-stake as an indexer to have a decent ratio of delegations you can receive, of course. But at least you would be able to self-delegate a portion of your GRT as an indexer and use that in DeFi or whatever. If that's clear.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Nico. And thank you for everybody that asked questions. Really, really good questions and really good answers. So really nice.
All right. Yeah, I just wanted to mention one thing. If you're interested in this next version and having your own TGRT kind of indexer token, we're very happy to talk to you, hear your feedback, and we'll also be opening up an early launch partner program in the coming weeks. So if you're interested, do reach out to us and we'll see how we can get you onboarded.
Amazing. All right. Next up, we're going to have a small segment about ETH Online and about DEF CON and Bogota. I will start it off and later on we will hear from Lorena as well. So last month, there was an event called ETH Online, which was a month-long online hackathon. And I had the opportunity to join the feedback sessions for the graph. So it was really fun because at the start, people just start off with an idea. And usually at these hackathons, especially the 2 or 3 day ones, people start off with an idea and they usually have a small proof of concept, but it's not really fully utilized yet. But now, because the teams had a month's time, there were some people that started off with an idea, had nothing, and then at the end of the month had amazing projects, and some of them used the graph as well. So it was really nice to see. You're still sharing your screen, Aniko, I think. So next up, we're going to hear from Lorena, which was in Bogota last week. So I would like to hear about the experience and what the graph did there.
Thank you, Colson. Well, last week we have ETH Global, ETH Latam, and DevCon Bogota during all the week. ETH Global took place from October 7th to 9th, with many hackers team participating for interesting prizes. The graph participate with a workshop given by Ocean Slim Chance, and many members of the graph ecosystem participate in that. There was a lot of interesting from the teams, not only to learn more about the protocol and the mainnet service, but also to participate with projects on the graph. And that was great because it was not only interesting in subgraphs creation, but to find way to use the graph in different options. Okay, that was great. Many projects that nothing related with, I don't know, NFT or financial, or one of the project was follow the make a measure the different forests in one country. So indexing the forest, that was very crazy, but that showed the how different teams can use the tools that the graph, and how the team can use the graph and the different tools that the protocol allow. One point very interesting is that we're about 25 submission of project with very varied proposal and using the graph. That is 25 is a lot of submission for the graph, so that was great. Related with it, LATAM was on October 10, only presentation, not hackathon. It LATAM is an event that has been taking place in different countries and cities of Latin America since August this year, and en road to DevCon. It was done in Argentina, Mexico, Chile, Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador, Colombia, and I hope don't forget for other any country. After DevCon, will be held this week. LATAM will be held this week in Medellin. It's a city of Colombia, and Panama. All these to develop it, and the main reason of LATAM, if LATAM is develop and empower the different communities in Latin America and include them into the Web3 ecosystem. Finally, related with DevCon, this was DevCon 6 from October 11 to 14, and they attend more than 6,000 people participate in the main DevCon, officially participate in DevCon. There was a lot of people. That is true. I never saw so many people. There was incredible. We should take into account that this DevCon 6 is the first DevCon after 2019. That was the last DevCon in Japan. So many people interested in this DevCon. DevCon is focusing on educate and empower the community to build and use decentralized systems. So they are conference to build anything you want to see. So that was great for all the attendants to participate. Important point related with DevCon is that, in my opinion, I suppose for any of the attendants, the DevCon is the most important event of the ecosystem that bring together many protocols and discussing technical governance tools, anything. And this DevCon was very focusing governance and layer 2, so that was great to listen different points of view. That is what I say about DevCon and it LATAM and it global.
Amazing. Thank you, Lorena. That was such a nice explanation. Very nice. Very nice. All right. This was our last segment. We want to ask you a couple of questions. So if you would like to stay around for that a little bit, feel free to do so. And if you are not staying around for that, then that's fine as well. And I hope to see you during next month's community talk. So we are always looking for stuff to include in these community talks, topics, subjects, cool stuff that is happening. And I'm wondering if anybody has any subjects for next community talk already, so the team could take that with us. And feel free to answer in voice or in chat.
What would be the best way to learn about the upcoming Arbitrum migration and the plans for that? Is that something that could be discussed in this call, or is that something more for a core dev call?
Usually, some of these topics that are very difficult, we can mention them, but then we kind of make it less technical, so non-technical people will also understand it. But this sounds like a lot of people are working on it, so. All right, does anybody else have any more topics for next community call? Okay, then we have a couple more questions. I just saw one question in the chat. If anybody is going to ETH Miami, it would be very cool if people are going to these ETH events that they can maybe meet up. So I would also like to ask if anybody is going to ETH San Francisco and ETH December in the future, in November and December.
I'm hoping to go to ETH San Francisco.
There we go. I see another ETH SF in the chat as well. Yeah, I'm really hoping to go to ETH India. There are so many graph advocates from there, and I would love to meet them all. But it's such a long flight, so I'm not sure yet. All right, I see a group for ETH SF forming here. That's very, very nice. All right, those were all my questions. So I would love to thank everybody for being here and joining Community Talk. I hope to see you again next month. And I think we can stop the recording now, SD, and then chill for 3 more minutes.